Hi, guys, and welcome to the In Tune podcast, where we discuss music and how it makes us mindful. Today is actually our first episode of the podcast. I'm so excited. I'm sitting down with one of my very favorite people to discuss music, mindfulness, and overall motivation. This person is a celebrity personal assistant, an entrepreneur, and an amazing songwriter. She's an amazing songwriter. This is starting off so great. Anyways, super happy to have her on here. Just in the last year, she has self-released 2 singles, Ask Me and Location. Both are phenomenal songs. Definitely go give them a listen. I'm going to link them at the bottom. The one, the only, Miss Amanda Jo Cramer.
I am forever changing. I don't mind rearranging. You've got to crawl before you walk. Routines I never bother, 'cause my mind can change by the hour, and I can live without a clock. Oh, don't you worry about me. Oh, 'cause I'm right where I should be. I'm doing just fine. Gonna paint my walls with my own design. Don't rush me, 'cause I'll be on my own time.
Hi.
What's up?
Welcome.
I'm excited to be doing this.
I'm so happy
We've
to
been
have
talking
you
about it
here.
for a while.
So long.
So now we're here.
Here we are.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. She gave me a worry stone, and it's not going to be there anymore.
For those of you who don't know what a worry stone is, it's like a healing crystal, but it's in the shape of a. I guess you could put your finger on it, and it's kind of like a fidget spinner.
It
but
feels
for spiritual
so
people.
fidget spinner for the spiritual folk.
Yeah, exactly.
I love this.
It's supposed to be for anything like financial worries. Or
Oh,
like
wait, hold on.
anything. You're like, oh, let me use my whole hand.
Put my whole heart into it.
It actually helps me a lot. Like I'll be driving and
love
just have
that.
it. But
Yeah,
anyway.
for that traffic.
Nashville traffic.
Nashville traffic.
Absolutely. You need a little bit more than a stone for
Get
that.
yourself a worry stone. The infomercial.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm so happy to have you here. How are you feeling today? Are you just like...
Great. I mean, we got our little elderberry mimosas going.
Oh, yeah, here. We got to do this because this is the first podcast, so we had to break out a little bit of a cheers.
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 I hope they heard the cling.
Clink, cling. Chin, chin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I want to get into it. We are obviously have been in music forever.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk a little bit about kind of what we're going to do here, because obviously this is the first podcast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you about 3 songs overall that have had a really like nostalgic moment for you, and just the kind of songs that you hear them and you're just like immediately transported into another place. And it could be heartbreak. It can be something that reminds you of your family, of your friends. It can be something that just reminds you of being just the most free you've ever felt. Or like my producer here says, it's like pushing the bruise. Like we get into that a ton. So if we want to start it off.
Yeah.
Do you have a song in mind that just immediately hits you right off the bat where you're just like, that song has transported me?
Okay, so I came in with a list of ideas.
She would have a list.
So I was like, so she told me a little bit about what we were going to talk about here. So I had an idea of what I might want to talk about. And at first I was like, trying to go with what came into my mind immediately, but then I realized like there's so many songs in the past that inspired me that I wanted to pick the ones that had good stories to it.
Totally.
Instead of like, oh, I just like this song.
I love that you came prepared. Like she was like,
Big
she was like,
list gal, big list
we
gal.
love the list. We love the to-do list.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. Okay, so like, what is one that just really inspires you, or just tell me a story about it.
Okay, so one of my biggest idols and inspirations as far as like vocalists go was Stevie Nicks.
Oh,
as you know.
yeah, for sure.
She's such a goddess, literally. And I was thinking about like some of the first songs I ever really got into. I don't first of all, when I was reflecting about this, I realized how weird of a kid I was when I was trying to pick these songs for you. I was like, wow, I was weird. I wasn't one of those kids that wanted to pick all the happy hunky-dory like
No.
happy songs. Like I remember like the earliest memories I have of music, I was like, which one is the saddest, most minor keyed song? And like on the keyboard I'll pick that sample sounds really sad and I want to cry. That's my favorite. So
yes, I think that's like we have that in common. So I think especially like when we write together, we're both just like, where is it? Where's the creepy?
Where's the most minor sad song I can find? Granted, I'm like, I swear, my parents said that I was like singing and playing piano before I was walking, and I literally remember picking the saddest one on the piano, and I was like less than a year old.
Oh my gosh!
So, but it's
just in some people. Yeah. Well, we get the sadness out.
I do remember one of the first albums I ever got into was Stevie Nicks' Belladonna album.
Yeah.
And you know me, like I'm like not necessarily the most girly girl. I've always been quite more tomboy.
You have a vibe.
But yeah.
you have like a whole vibe. But it's like an attractive vibe. Like people are just like, hell yes, Amanda. Like you know where Amanda is and where she's like coming and going.
So my memory of this is playing probably the only time I ever even touched or thought about playing with Barbies. And I remember playing the song Kind of Woman. You remember that one? It's just like so sad and so like I think it's about like a girl cheating, right, or something like that.
I can't remember the lyrics right now, but now I get to look it up.
I don't love you, she matters to you. It's like about this guy going over to this girl's house. I'm pretty sure. Like I was too young to probably.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, how old were you again?
I think I was like maybe 3 or 4, like super.
She was like, young. This song speaks to me.
I was like, yes, girl, you know, totally.
Kind of woman, let's go.
Dude. I had no idea. But it was like, it hit my heart for some reason. I was like, this is intense. But the ironic part is the memory I have is I was playing with my Barbies and I was doing an imitation of a wedding, walking down the aisle to Kind of Woman. And I was like, I don't know. This just sounds like a good song you would walk down.
That Barbie marriage, doomed.
They lasted 2 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first one that came to my mind and that was like, I don't know why. I've always been like a very hopeless romantic. So I combined like the hopeless romantic side of me with the side that I had no idea what I was talking about. With like the very sad side of love.
But you felt it.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many songs out there. Like I think we've talked about this before. There are a lot of songs that are, or a lot of people out there that are very like lyric driven. And then there are people who are just music driven. And so when they hear a song, they actually have no idea what the lyrics say, but they like feel it intensely. And then like you'll tell them this is what that means. And they're like, oh, I didn't think that.
No, 100%. And that's actually what I was reflecting on. I was like, how come this meant so much to me? And I realized like over the years, I've definitely been more of the melody and the music person because I'll go back and listen to these songs I was obsessed with and I'm like, I hate these lyrics. Like, why was I into this? And then I realized like in my writes and stuff now, I'm definitely more like the person to like noodle around with the melody before I am lyrics. Whereas like you're probably more of a lyric driven person, I would say.
I do like.
You're a little bit of both.
Yeah, I like a little bit of both, but I think I just loved Jason Mraz so much when I was younger that and Allison Krauss that I started listening to like all of these different lyrics that were just so specific and like really cool or just super touching or just really like sad. And I was just immediately like, that's how I want to write. And so when I look over songs, I'm like, okay, is this something that's like specific or is this something that like, because somebody told me that, and I think this is like one of the coolest things that another writer has said to me, but it was basically like the things that are closest to you that you think no one else is feeling are the most universal things.
Right.
So if you're writing these like super specific lines thinking like this isn't going to translate, it always ends up translating more than a lot of other lines do, because you're like, wow, somebody else was like also
I can see that
in that position.
Well, that's why like music has such a strong impact on people.
Yeah.
Because so I was in between Kind of Woman and Belladonna,
Yeah.
and I think I was obsessed with Stevie's vibe,
Yeah.
and she was just so powerful of a voice artist, like vibe in general.
Totally.
And that's what started my I guess like that kind of created my style and like things.
Yeah,
that I
you
liked.
definitely carry that with you. Like
Yeah.
you can feel that vibe, and like also like she karaoke's the hell out of that.
Yes. Go-to karaoke song, Dreams.
Yeah.
Which is technically Fleetwood.
Dreams and occasionally Celine.
Yes, we crush a good Celine song.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to say is like she had a huge impact on my style in the long run, and I've always liked how intensely her music affected me. Like when I was like listening to Belladonna and Kind of Woman, I felt like I was like in a spell, you know, like this. I was like this is just good. Like
Totally.
I'm like 3 years old.
Yeah, you were like, I have been bewitched. Like she has bewitched me.
Well, I've heard some rumors, you know. Maybe
Oh
she's got it
man,
going on.
I know, I love it. I'm ready to join her, her cult in the
where
woods.
can we join that crew? Like, I'm ready to find this place. Join a commune and Stevie be the leader.
Yeah,
you know?
Stevie has to be there though. Like she has to be the
She's,
leader.
like, dancing in the moonlight and stuff.
I can see it though. Why do you?
With her worry stones.
Yeah, she's got worry stones everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you think there's like a specific reason that you like went for the style? Do you think it was like you heard the music and then you saw the style, or do you think you saw the style and then you heard the music and you were like, that's a vibe?
That's hard to say. My parents, obviously, would have introduced me to it. So I probably heard it first.
Yeah.
And then I saw Dad was a big album guy, like collection on collection. He had hundreds. So I would always like to look at the covers, and that cover of Belladonna with the white dress and her holding, what was it? Is it a dove or something? I think it's a dove.
I think so.
I'm blanking right now.
Okay, I feel like I want to look it up now.
Yeah, look it
Is that
up.
wrong?
It's some kind of bird, but she's in
Okay,
like
we're going to look it up.
She looks so like a goddess, all white, and her pose and everything, these gigantic boots. She looks like a witchy Britney Spears back in the day, you know?
I
just
love
owning
this.
it. And then she's like holding the bird. It was just such a powerful look. Like I like that she looked sexy and feminine, but also masculine, and like she owned her room. And I just remembered that, like looking at that and being like what a baddie. Like I know that wasn't a word back then that I want to know, but like now I'm like
I'm seeing this. I highly encourage everyone to go like look this up, because
It's so
is.
good.
She just like, and I don't know that anyone else could really pull this off, because you'd be like, why is she doing that?
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
But that's
She's
like some
amazing.
stuff I
But it
wanna
is.
do.
She's like, even the look in her eyes, they're just like, listen, I'm holding this bird and I dare you to question
What kind
me.
of bird was it?
It was a dove for
It
sure.
was a dove? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was just so striking. And I just remember being like, I don't know if she's like part goddess or like a demigod, or like, you know, I was really into fantasy back in the day.
You
I was
were
maybe
like,
she is. I don't know.
When you were 3, you were like, she's a demigod.
She's a demigod for sure. Like she,
I love it.
and that kind of just started my like into more, how do you describe it? More like, it's just more eclectic. She was definitely more of a spiritual type of vibe. I know it was the 80s, so they all probably looked like that. I mean, her hair was like a foot tall.
I think there's something about her though. Like my mom is just like, Stevie Nicks is like her very, very favorite. So like and I know you know that, but she truly like is like, I grew up seeing her, and like there's something different though about her, like as opposed to like a lot of the other people around that time. Just even though they were all dressing the same, it's like there's an air about her that is very specific, and it definitely puts you in a nostalgic mood when you hear her.
Yeah, I saw Fleetwood when they came in town. I want to say it was 2018 or 19, and I was like row 3. Like I was so.
Oh my
close to it.
gosh.
That was my first time seeing them, and I was like, This is insane.
Yeah, I
This
feel
is my
like
idol. That was the only. I have like 3 idols. That was the one that I saw.
Who are your 3? I need to know.
Stevie, Celine Dion.
Thank you.
It's a tie between Selena and Leanne Rimes.
I almost did the thing.
What?
Okay, so like
I know what
you
you're
just
talking
have to
about.
tell the people.
Yeah.
Okay, so like anytime Selena is brought up,
Selena.
we go through this like whole thing where we're just like anything for Selena. And then she's like, this bumper.
This bumper.
This is Selena's bumper. And we go
have
on
to
with
make that hat. How have
I
we
know.
not done that
I
yet?
know. So we've been talking about making a hat that's that says this bumper.
So good.
Yeah, I think it would sell.
I think if we made replica bumpers,
Yeah,
it would sell.
100%.
People like to make headboards out
Yeah.
of truck beds.
I've
Why
seen
not?
that. I think you showed me.
Why have we not sold this?
I love that I'm like, I've seen that, but really it's like you showed it to me.
I think that's a good
100%.
idea.
You send me the craziest stuff all the time. Cause okay, so like you get into a lot of really amazing antiques and you have like, tell me a little bit about that. Like you have your whole entire like site up already, right? Where it's just like really
Yeah,
cool.
I only have the socials right now.
Okay.
But I've always been quite the antique enthusiast, which has a long story behind it. I don't know if you wanted me to go into that or not.
I mean, absolutely. I would love to hear that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it started off as a spiritual experience. When I
Okay.
was a senior in high school. Have I told you all this?
I don't
Or
think
no?
so.
Is
This
like,
is
brand
great.
new?
No, I love this because there's
Okay.
very little that's brand new, I feel like, between us.
Yeah.
And I love this. So
Yeah.
please, like,
Well, then this is all new for
this is
Allie, too.
amazing.
So yeah, so backstory before I even go to, I grew up in Arkansas, pretty conservative there. We still have quite a few people that are heavily into the church and stuff like that. I was non-denominational growing up, and I was pretty heavily involved. Like I was in worship crew, was like a leader. Like I went the whole shebang. Like can you imagine?
I can't see. I actually can't see that, Amanda. Like it just doesn't exist in my brain. Like because you're so
girl.
like you're so yourself. So like to see you going through those trials of like not of figuring it out.
because I like the social aspect.
Right. So me at sports, just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. So I was pretty heavily involved. And I wouldn't say like I was like hyper religious, but I definitely believed in something. So at the time, it was the summer before moving to Nashville for Belmont University. And, you know, at this point, I was just like, I need to get out of the house. Rarely did I get out of the house. Definitely a mama's girl. And I was like, I need to go hang out with friends before I move. I was like, I'm going to hang out with my church friends. They're all at this place they called the Prayer Room in Fayetteville. My hometown is Fayetteville.
Oh my gosh.
And literally all you do is go there, sit on the floor on these like rugs, and there's some dude, probably looks like he's from East Nashville, like sitting in the corner and playing these worship songs on his acoustic guitar, super chill, and we're all just like sitting down on pillows and we're quote praying. In reality, we're just catching up, you know, with good company, and then every once in a while we'll have prayers one-on-one or with a group, or some people go alone.
Totally.
I went with all the entire intentions, whether my mom knew it or not. I just wanted to get out of the house, but I was like, I need to go pray. and I sat there with my crew, who were also worship leaders at the time, and one of the leaders, his name was Brandon. He was what you call, I guess you would technically say like a medium.
Okay.
But in that world, they like rarely use that word,
right?
You know, but he was gifted. Okay, I'll say gifted. He was gifted in that he received messages from God. And when we were there that night, a lot of my friends he was receiving for and getting these very personalized messages. And I just remember thinking like, damn, I have to leave soon. I'm kind of like mad I didn't get a message.
Yeah.
You know, like, where's my message?
Where's my message?
I was low key like, come on, God, you know, come on, I want a message. Because I was getting ready to leave. And but the whole time I was there for a couple hours, like weird things were just happening that I couldn't really explain. And I had only known some of these things happen sometimes because I would hear it from other people, but then it just started happening to me, like these weird coincidences. So I was like already in a paranoia stage. This like couple of dudes came over to me, and I had never met them, don't know anything about me. They were like, hey, I don't know why, but I think your mom is really concerned about you. Like, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
What?
They're like, I don't know, but I just have a feeling you need to check with your mom. And like, I'm like, okay, weirdos, you know, like, leave me alone. I look into my phone, which is like in my purse, completely buried. I had quite literally like 20 missed calls from her.
Oh my
And
gosh.
messages. Don't know how they were.
You're like,
that.
Mom, I'm at prayer group.
I told you I am busy. So that was happening, and then at the time there was just a lot personally going on, and I'll go into that later. But Brandon was receiving messages for everyone, kind of going around the circle. It was like awesome. I was getting really hyped up for everyone because they're all really inspired. And then I was getting ready to leave, and I was like, dang, I really want a message. But then right when I was about to leave, he was like, no. He was like, I'm getting something for you. And I'm like, wait, what? And then I sat down. He's like, yeah. He was like, you know how at church, you've probably heard this saying before, but they like to say, like, you're his bride, like you're God's bride.
Yeah, that always, I'm not like,
Well,
if I'm being honest, no, I know, but if I'm like being honest, that like, that always totally freaked me out. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's a whole other.
That's another conversation. But just like, yeah, when you said that, I was just like, ugh.
Well, you are God's bride. It's what they would say often, and it is part of like a verse in the Bible. But he goes, but for you, he wants me to say it differently, and for some reason, he wants me to say you're his queen, not his bride, but you are his queen. And I was like, that's weird. Backstory to that. And then it just kept spiraling. Like, he just kept saying things that only I would know.
Yeah.
Like, I was with this crew, but I wasn't close.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't talk about my personal life at the time. I had been doing a lot of music shows. Like, my goal was to become a singer, you know, and make it, quote unquote.
Totally.
I want to be big, you know. And at the time, I was battling with a lot of, like, guilt because people were like, why do you want that? Because, you know, in that world, they make you feel weird if you want any type of fame or like
totally
to be known.
Yeah.
Because, you know, everything needs to be humbling and you have to have good motivations behind it and intentions. And I was struggling personally with guilt, and I hadn't really told anybody that.
Yeah.
At the time. And so he was saying stuff along those lines and reassuring me, like, he wants you to know that you have nothing to worry about. And that you need to get, like, stuff kind of like you need to get out of your head. And then he was mentioned something like stepping stones. I don't remember word for word, but the things that did stick out to me, and I still remember to this day, was the queen part.
Yeah.
Like, you are his queen.
Totally.
The other one, there was another guy right behind him that I had just met the night before. Like, literally never met this dude. And he goes, yeah, I'm picturing this, like, crown. And he was like, it's very specific. There's a row of green gems on the bottom of the crown, and then the top is purple. And he was like, and just going through what I'm receiving, he was like, the green to me means that God really wants you to work through your healing, and he wants you to heal those things that you're experiencing right now so you can get to that stage of being well known and comfortable and experience royalty. And I'm like, interesting. But the backstory to this, Allie, is that entire week before this, I was going through this weird rabbit hole in obsession with Queen Elizabeth.
I was going to say, I know this is taking a turn because, like, it's mad queen
this
energy over here. Yeah.
And if you knew me at that age, I hated history.
That is so wild to me because you are, like, so...
That's all I like.
Down that rabbit hole.
Yes.
Yeah. And
yes.
you're
this
like,
is why it's so weird.
Your apartment is just like if the people could see. It's just literally the most unique collection of things that I've ever seen. And it's just like somehow still made incredibly homey. So it just like, it's so unique though. And people walk in and they're just like,
well, it literally
whoa.
goes all back to this one moment. And so that entire week up into this prayer room experience, I was just scrolling. I think it was like some Saturday at home. I was like bored scrolling through what was on TV back when cable was around, still. And the movie Elizabeth with Kate Blanchett came on. I was scrolling through it, like went past it. And then for some reason my brain was like, that was cool. And then went back like 3 more channels. And then I just like looked at her. She's just like this white, super white and fair complected chick, royal chick. I didn't know who it was at the time. Red hair, like me, looking like a badass.
Yeah.
And then I just sit there. I just remember sitting there on the couch, like completely, like almost like under a curse, it felt like.
Yeah.
And then I was going down a rabbit hole, like trying to Google, like, what is this movie? Who is this chick? Why am I so interested? And then I read up on it, figure out it's about all of Queen Elizabeth's life and her, her time on the throne. Ended up watching it like 2 or 3 more times that week. Totally. And I don't do that. I hated watching movies more than once. I didn't like history. I didn't know who this chick was. So it's all weird to me.
So it just like popped up and you just like had such a strong connection that you just decided that you needed to know more.
It was all super weird to me. And then I was never really like an emotional person. Like rarely did like things move me like that. Not even music ever really did. I would like feel, but I wouldn't feel.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have a reaction.
Interesting.
I wouldn't like cry or anything. And I remember like leaving the prayer room that night and crying. Like,
oh my gosh.
And I don't know why. Like, it was just like the floodgates open and I was bawling. I was like, I don't know what's happening. I remember telling mom because she was super mad at me for being home late. Hence all the 20 missed calls. And then I remember telling her what went on and she just started crying. So that was a very big turning point in my life to where I ended up being more of like a spiritual person and really believing in signs. Spiritualism in general, whatever, like moved me for some reason. And just the queendom vibe in general. I know it's like total. I get mad because it's like overused now. Like everyone thinks they're a
preaching to the
goddess.
You're
now.
preaching to the Live Laugh Love choir. So
in case anybody love tattoo on it.
Just in case anybody wants to know, I do have a Live Laugh Love tattoo from when I was 19 on my left wrist.
You're like, no one's ever gonna have this phrase.
But it was way before all of the books and things were coming out. So when that started happening, I was like, oh no. I've never been so embarrassed. And now people are like, wait, does that say Live, Laugh, Love? And I'm like, sure does.
That's a great story.
But then I started getting more and more tattoos because I was like, I have to
cover this.
I have to cover this in some way. But I don't want to I think it's so funny because I go back in my mind to where my mindset was at the time when I was 19. And I just really was
you're like, no, really,
in that
live,
phase,
laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love, guys.
No, really.
No, truly. And it's funny though, because I was just wanted to remind myself, and that's why I did it. And now when I look at it, it really does give me such a giggle because I'm like, you're definitely reminding yourself.
Oh, honey.
So when I'm in a really bad place though, it makes me laugh. So I'm kind of happy I have it.
I don't blame you. I have several moments like that. So yeah, I that started the antique thing because before everyone jumped on the whole Queen train, I was there first. But
Queen.
I was there first. And I remember I was just after that, I was walking around. I swear to God, I would picture his crown on my head and be like, I'm the queen. It got me through college. It got me through everything. I was like, I don't know shit, but I'm the queen. I just had to maintain.
I think
that vibe.
everybody has to have should have some kind of energy like that though. When you just pull it out of your back pocket, it's one of your tools.
But because of my upbringing, and this helped me a lot through my career in music because you just need a lot of confidence in this industry. It helped me a lot. And I think that's what that guy was getting at, is that I needed to go through the healing stage to truly experience feeling like a queen, whatever that meant for me. But because of that, I was really inspired, moved to Nashville and just really dove deep into that world. My first apartment I got here, which was halfway in my first year. I moved in with my best friend, had obviously no furniture or anything, couldn't afford anything, and I just went to the flea market down the street and then discovered antiques and all this stuff. And then I realized quickly that my style had a lot to do with British history and Gothic Victorian stuff because it was related to British history.
Plug your socials.
Oh, yeah. So if you're interested in any of these antiques, I started a page called Goth and Victor, which is an ode to the styles Gothic and Victorian. But yeah, I post everything on there, whether it's my personal item or something. If anyone's interested, they can ever DM me.
It's totally cool though, because like she'll give like a brief history about it, which I love. Like, so I'm like learning things and also seeing these like really cool pieces that I personally would never have come across because it just doesn't catch my eye like that. But when I go into your house, I'm like, where are you getting these
or
things?
What is that?
Yeah,
that's why I like stuff like that. And it truly became, outside of music, it became the other passion that I spent the most time and energy into. And I really enjoyed, I was already a very tangible person, but I liked that I could touch a piece of furniture and it had history behind it, whether it was dark or not. And I liked that. I liked that I could see like old farm tables. I like that you can see all the oil from people's hands and the stains on it and the wear and the tear, because you can't fake that. And there's energy moves with all that stuff.
Totally.
And it can be heavy sometimes, but I just really got into that, and it created my style personally and aesthetically in the home or in my music sometimes. And that's what got me into the rock stuff.
Okay.
And the metal stuff. Because it was in that scene. They were all very into the gothic stuff, whether that was like truly gothic or not. But it started the style, and that's what just created my entire journey.
That's amazing. Let's talk a little bit more about like that the rock journey, because like that's a big part of your history as well. Like,
huge.
So you were in for like quite a while.
5 years.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. And was this during? I know like that it was not too far in the past, but like I know that it was like, were you in college when this was happening? Okay.
Yeah. So I was in it from 2015, I want to say, to 2020. So
okay.
I left December 2019, right before COVID hit.
Understandable.
So I moved here and did the whole thing, did college, found a whole other world and type of musicians I really never got the chance to dabble with in Arkansas, just because I was limited with the type of people there.
Yeah.
And just experimented. I remember like doing the solo Amanda Jo Cramer thing for a little bit. It was actually gaining quite good traction.
Yeah.
But the band at the time, we just fell apart naturally. And then I was like frustrated. I was like, F it. And then I went on Craigslist. I saw this posting said, metal band looking for a female lead singer, and I was like, F it, I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
And then I messaged them. Honestly, I did not expect anything from it, and they're like, hey, we like your style, we want you to come in and sing a Hayley Williams song for your audition.
You're like, of course.
And I'm like, oh yeah, of course. They love me, and then it just turned into the band, and I stuck with them for 5 years. We put an EP out, and then we did a whole album. To clarify, I was not a screamer. It was strictly clean vocals over really heavy breakdowns. So it's still heavy, but all clean vocals.
Yeah.
Love screaming though.
Yeah. Love to scream.
Love screaming.
Love a panic room.
Yeah, but so that scene of people that naturally fall into that style and that scene, like they are really heavy into, the gothic, Victorian, whatever, dark shit. And I fell into that too, just out of love. And
That's
it made
awesome.
sense with my past already.
Yeah.
So I was already gravitating towards that. It just like pushed me even more. And now, because I always wanted to be more of like a rocker.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody wanted to solo and have heavy they were like, "Ooh, that's too much crunch on your guitar, honey. That's not country." And then look at us now.
Honey.
Now Hardy is taking
Yeah.
over.
I love that we both started in country music and we both opened for so many of the same artists and like never came across each other because we were in such different parts of the country, but we were both like super young and both doing country just because we were kind of told like, oh, you can sing, do country. And
this
so
makes sense.
Yeah. So like, I feel it's so funny though, because every time I talk to you, we'll be saying something and I'll be like, oh, I opened for this person. And you're like, I opened for this person.
Me too.
And it's so fun because then we can compare the stories. And I like really enjoy having that with you because it's like not a lot of people get that kind of vibe where no. So it's fun to have that friend like in you that really just like vibes and is like, oh yeah, that person was really nice. And usually like it's pretty consistent across the board. But I love that. I love that you're so like you're so into like your style is so eclectic and like so personalized, and I love that. And I know that you talk a little bit about how that is something that you feel like sometimes is not 100% like the strongest quality for you, but I totally thought it was.
Right.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Because I feel like people don't realize that like when you see a person who you're like, wow, their style. Because when I look at you, I'm like, your style, like, you know who you are.
Yeah.
And you're so specific about it.
Yeah.
But I assumed that like, yes, it's queen energy. She's so confident about it. But I feel like a lot of people don't realize that like that takes a lot of work and there are off days when it comes to that as well.
100%. And it's ironic. You said, I remember having this conversation with you and I was like, mind blown. Because my biggest downs and things that I experienced throughout the creative world was that I felt so lost and like I didn't know who I was. Because for so many years, people would ask me like, oh, what are you? Like, what's your style? What do you like? What do you want to be? And I didn't have an answer
that question
for them.
too.
I hate it so much. I didn't have an answer for them, like never, because I was into everything.
Yeah.
Like some days I wanted to headbang out, and then other days I wanted to sing opera, like quite literally.
Yeah.
And it confused people so much. Or, you know, as an 11-year-old, I was writing songs that only adults could understand with an 11-year-old voice. Like, I just never made sense to anybody. So then I just got to a point where I was like, I had to let go for my own sanity and just started doing things I liked.
Yeah.
And I stopped answering that question. I was just like, I'm just Amanda. And I combined everything that I liked into one, and it just made me feel so much more comfortable, and just giving myself the grace to stop answering that question and being okay with that. Even if I was talking to a music rep or somebody that was higher up, you know, I just was like, no, I'm going to be real. Like,
take it or leave it.
I can't be labeled. I don't believe in labels. And it's ironic because now I think we're there.
Yeah.
I think when we were younger, we still had to have a label because, you know, when you even, for some people don't know this, but when you're putting your song on a platform like Spotify or iTunes, it asks you to specify 2 genres. And it was always hard for me to pick.
Yeah.
Because you obviously have a primary that you're going for.
Right.
And like you have an idea of the market you want to sell, which makes sense if you want to be a good business person. But I remember like struggling so hard to choose a sub-genre or something, so that at the end of the day, I was just like, singer-songwriter. Yeah. Like, because, you know,
I don't know. And then everybody's like, why don't you know? How could you possibly not know? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's happening tomorrow.
But like, you think about it and you're like, what in the world do you think Elvis would have said?
Yeah. Why do you, and also like the constant need for people to have you explain yourself, like as an artist, as even a human being, like especially these days, it's like, what? Just accept it. Like I'm walking around, I'm doing my best. That's like where we're at.
Yeah. I've noticed there's like another question that artists really don't like, and it's when people are like, oh, like who are you trying to be like?
Yeah, no one. That's
No
the
one.
answer.
That's the point.
And then people get upset because they want to compare you to somebody because that's how they rationalize it and that's how they like make sense of it in their mind. But also like you can't do that. Like you can't ask somebody to be a carbon copy of another person because it makes sense to you. Like, it just doesn't make sense at all.
I think it works for some artists.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I just had decided really early on that if I was going to be known for something, it wasn't for being like somebody else and just being good at it. I wanted to be known to be like, the conversation I want to leave the world is, oh, that was Amanda. She was 1000% always herself. You knew whether it was or was not her.
Yeah.
Everything she touched was truly her and genuinely her. And it was hardworking. It was creative. It was a good vibe.
That's so beautiful.
And stuff like that. Like, I would rather that than leaving this world like, oh yeah, that was Amanda. She's really good. She sounded just like Reba.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. No, exactly. And the thing is, so I know we've talked about this before, but like I had a very like singeing experience with having so many people tell me who they wanted me to sound like, what I should put out, all of these things, and I did it. And to this day, people are like, let me hear some of your music. And I'm like, I have hundreds of songs in a catalog that are very me. And you know that because I'm like, you're like one of the only people I show. Like on repeat, I'm like, let's have a drink and listen to music. But it's not out, so it's frustrating to me. And I don't want to show them my old stuff because that wasn't me. It almost felt like I was a little bit coerced into going down that lane specifically to sell whatever they thought was going to sell. And surprise, it didn't, because it wasn't me and it didn't come off as authentic, I don't think. Yeah. So I think to any artist out there, I would say stay within your authentic self, especially these days when you have the opportunity to do so much on your own. I think that's so special. Yeah. And I think like we're going to see a lot more we already are like really phenomenal artists who are just like so themselves and so creative. And you're like, I can't believe they put that with that and it works so well.
Well, I think the other thing though too that people like you and I forget to remember is to give us grace though.
We're so bad at that though. We're good at reminding each other though. Yeah. So that's what it's good.
I had the same thing. I did put out some songs when I was younger. I was still in country at the time, and it came out, and I remember, I mean, I did my best. Yeah. But if I would have done it over again, it would probably not be anything like it. But we have to give ourselves grace because we also forget we were in such an adult-driven world so young that in our brains, we were trying to be an adult when we're still trying to figure out what even being a kid is. Yeah,
that was a huge thing, like, especially, like, trying to explain that, too, to, like, even my parents. I'm just like, hey, just, like, you know, give me a little bit of grace here as well, because I don't give myself any, but, like, the people around me, you know, that, and they've been really good about it, but I've gone through so many stages with, like, my family and my friends and, like, the people that I've worked with and things like that, just, like, thinking I didn't accomplish anything when I realized that I've accomplished so much more than, like, a lot of people.
And as a kid.
Yeah, as like a child. And then I get down on myself for being like, oh, I didn't know I was being screwed over here, or I didn't know, like, how to stand up for myself here, or, like, how do you speak to someone saying that that's not you and they're telling you that this is your only chance. Like, so you're scared, but you're trying to be strong, and then you're afraid to tell anybody about it. So you're just trying to figure it all out. Like, I think it's so important, like, to continue reminding myself and yourself that, like, things have been accomplished just because it wasn't in the way that we thought it was going to turn out. Like, I think it's going to turn out for the better.
That, and also give grace in knowing that you're constantly changing and you're constantly evolving. So, like, my authentic self back then might just have been different, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
Like, at the time, I thought I was being authentic.
Yeah.
And I was still maturing, and I was still learning. And I think that's the beautiful thing, because if we were right off the bat, the moment we were brought into the world, just like, all right, that's Amanda, that's it, you know, and we're not finding that, then kind of what's the point in living?
Totally.
You know, like,
yeah.
So that's what I have to remind myself on. And that's probably why I'm so confident now in who I am, because, like, I did have to have those hard conversations with me because I was always down on myself for the longest time for being like, why didn't I know what I was?
Yeah.
Why wasn't I able to explain to people my story
Mm-hmm.
and why I am the way I am? Why am I not able to put it into 3 words? You know?
Right. Absolutely.
And when I started telling myself like, no, it's okay to have your own journey and it's okay to like grow at your own pace.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden life was just so much easier.
Completely.
And I started noticing myself manifesting and attracting the things that just like made sense and was comfortable to me. And it felt like I was in it for years already.
Yeah.
So
that stuff is so real. Like you really do have to be like within yourself, like in your most authentic space to like really truly like, and it's hard to get there sometimes. Like you have to wade through everybody else's opinion of you, I've realized, and find yourself.
The noise
again.
of the world in general is just constantly like distracting you.
Yeah, and like you go into survival mode, I realized, because I was there for such a long time. And then I just realized, like, for example, even like the things that I know we talk about this all the time, but like the things that I was wearing, a lot of the times I was just like, oh, I'm wearing this to like hide almost because I don't want to make people uncomfortable because I would show up in yes, I'm a big people pleaser. I'm trying to work on it. Big people pleaser energy. So I would roll up to like a function and be like, I just want to hide and like, you know, not be like, and I can like show fake confidence in that, but like I wasn't real confident. And then so I started realizing, okay, so why is that happening? And then I was like, oh my God, I am dressing down, not doing exactly the way that saying the things I want to say, being the person I want to be, because I feel like I'm making others uncomfortable. Because I would go into like places of work and things like that, and people would be like, why are you so happy? Like, go away. And so I would be like, I'd be like, oh my God, I have to go away. They don't like me. And so like now I'm in this place where I actively wear things that those kinds of people would be immediately repelled from, so I don't even have to worry about it.
You're almost like giving a middle finger to like your
I'm like, I'm sorry if I'm making you uncomfortable with my happy outfit of the day.
If I'm
then
making you uncomfortable with myself.
Yeah, then you don't need to talk to me. It's fine. Because I don't want to have those bad conversations. Okay, but I'm going to pull this all the way back around because only Stevie Nicks can bring us into such a deep, dark conversation.
Well, the point was about her style, though.
Yeah, like, exactly.
You know, so that was all encompassing.
It was so perfect. And yeah, I love that there's not a better person, I don't think, to start off this podcast with than a Stevie Nicks tribute song. So thank you for that. I'm so excited about that. Love Stevie. I'm like, come on the show. Just kidding. So I want to go to song number 2. Okay. Is there... So
let me look at my list.
Look at your list. Is there one maybe that's like more of like something that reminds you of your family members or something? Okay, perfect.
That's what. Okay, I actually called my dad before this.
I love
that. There were 2 songs I was in between, and so I'm just gonna call them a tie.
Do it. There's no rules here. No hard and fast rules.
I was like, whatever, first episode, no rules. So the songs that I'm tying for my second is the Won't Get Fooled Again and Baba O'Reilly by The Who.
Oh my gosh. Did they both remind you of your dad?
100%.
I love that.
Here's what people need to understand. I would not be the artist and the musician I was today if it wasn't for my dad. And it's because he is 100,000% the best air musician I've ever met in my life.
Air guitar on,
air guitar and air piano like nobody's business.
Shout out to Daddy Cramer.
Papa Cramer.
Papa Cramer.
My earliest memories with music was just him on the freaking dashboard of the car, like you know, like he was so good. And never played an instrument.
I love that.
He is now. Now that he's retired.
He's taking the time.
Yeah, now he's like, hey, should I start with piano and guitar?
You're
and I'm
like,
absolutely.
absolutely.
I love this right now. So he's finally getting into it. But I don't know. He might be stumped because he's been doing air guitar his whole life, and he's going to finally feel it.
He's like,
this
is not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. But yeah, I would, my musicality in general, I truly don't think it'd be what it was without my dad's music taste. Like, dude has the widest music taste that I've ever seen. Like, we would listen to The Who, for instance, a big classic rock guy, like big dad energy, to, I swear the next song would be a Spanish opera singer.
I love that.
To one day, I remember my mind was blown because he was like, yo, you need to check out this new artist. His name is Drake. And I'm like, ah!
Stop. He did not.
He brought home that Take Care album.
That was a great album.
Instantly turned into my favorite album. But yeah, he was just always
thrived with that album.
He's a big research guy. Always was like into what's new and like quality stuff. So he would come. I forget. I don't remember if it was like some kind of subscription or he was just going on like top artists of the month, and he would go through and order every single one.
Oh my gosh.
And so we like every month or so, a whole stack of albums would come in, and he'll just put them right into the iTunes library back when you still downloaded everything. And so we had thousands and thousands and thousands of songs on the library in his hard drive, and he was just constantly like looking into what's new. Like he was
updated.
Yes, he was better about it than anybody else I had like really.
Oh my
met.
goodness.
Everybody else was like stuck to the same 2 or 3 artists. He was just like, nah. And then like was always on top of it, and was a big live music guy too. So all of the like artists that he liked, he would get them also in concert in a DVD.
Yeah. Did you go to a lot of shows with him?
No, not really. He was more of like the concert DVD guy.
Yeah, he just wanted
the comfort
the comfort of his own home.
100%.
Yeah.
This song in particular in The Who, I have a funny story about. There used to be a little bit more blonde in Amanda's hair, and I had a blonde moment when I was little. I'm gonna pop up a picture there for sure.
Yes. And we'll find it. As well as all of your rock videos, because they are gems.
I'm not embarrassed, okay?
AKA that. Wait, what was that? Also that cooking show? Linking that too.
We're not mentioning that one. That one's staying buried.
But if you want to find it.
So, dad was notorious to always like doing music trivia in the car. And this one particular time, I think it was like Saturdays and Sundays were always the errand days going to Sam's Club. Trivia music on the way there. And then he was like playing The Who, and he goes, guess who this is? And I'm like, I don't know who. And he's like, no, who? And I'm like, I don't understand who.
That is the biggest dad joke. That is the dad joke of the year.
But I remember it though because of that. But he was like, and he was in his dad.
And you
like,
knew he
vibe.
was
He was like,
he thought that was
like,
so funny too.
Like, no, who? And I'm like, no, who? And I swear, I'm like 11 years old, getting sassy, and I'm like, Dad, who? And he was like, who? Just kept going for like 10 minutes.
I love it.
Looked at my sister, and he goes, it's called The Who. And I'm like, really? Yeah. So that was that memory. But he would always play that and like stuff like Message in a Bottle and like
good song. Good vibe.
Jack and Diane. Big Van Halen guy.
Classic.
Journey, of course.
You have to.
But yeah, I had to say something about that because like, yeah, he was just had the widest music taste, and because of that, like I was into everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I was so curious towards the end.
That's awesome.
You know, or at least in my high school years.
That's great.
Stuff. Yeah, I think I felt more comfortable dabbling and listening to other genres the older I got. I remember like the first song that I downloaded was Lollipop.
Did your dad show you that song?
No, he did not show me that song. And I probably told him it was a Christian song at the time.
You're like, yeah, Dad, it's totally fine. Explicit means
eternal.
Yeah. I know, like, we were talking about how, like, that song is his Lollipop is, like, one of my favorite songs to, like, have randomly pop up because for like an entire year, I would play this show and my band and I would get off and we were playing country music. So we would get off the stage and immediately
Just
like
play
clockwork, Lollipop. And I was just like, why? Why?
It's catchy, man.
Confusing. And it made me feel like my whole set was a lie.
So my mom was like pretty sheltered when it came to like genres. She grew up on strictly like traditional country or like gospel or bluegrass.
Yeah.
Like, that was pretty much it. Or CCM, Christian Contemporary Music.
Yeah.
So that was like a huge jump for me to like download a Lil Wayne song. Like I remember being on the bus and being like, y'all, I just downloaded this song. And I was like, you know, ear to ear, it's called Lollipop. And I was like, and I'm like, I don't know what it's about, but I think it's about candy or like some stuff. I was like, it's dope. Check it out.
You're like, I know I'm not supposed to have it on my iPod.
I'm like, I have a feeling that I'm not supposed to have this.
We all had a few
Turned
of
into
those.
a big Lil Wayne fan after that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. He's like, I always try to do that in the microphone when people are like, check something. And I'm like, I'm not that cool. But I try anyway.
That was a good song.
Yeah. Anyway. So, okay. I love that a lot of musicians, obviously, and like people in general, I realized a lot of us as humans, we get our music taste and our first like experience from our parents. So I always love to ask that question because it really does take us to another space. Like your mom only listening to certain things and then your dad having such a wide range of music. I think that's so special to have that capability to have all kinds of different music in your genre.
Well, that's how we get anything.
Yeah.
Well, that goes into my third one. So my third one is a traditional country song.
Perfect.
And it's also now my go-to warm-up song. It's my
really
warm-up song. Yes, I always do this one. And I'm gonna get nerdy, but the only reason I like doing it is because it practices what's called your glottal stop.
Oh yeah.
You know this,
yes.
but a lot of people don't.
Yeah, explain it.
But it's that thing that like lets people yodel. So it's like,
and that's Amanda Jo Cramer for you. AJ Cray as known on the streets.
I have to get into a song to really show you how it's supposed to sound like. But
I need you. I'm actually going to ask you to do your warm up for me right now and for the people because I think
no shame. I would.
We have to let the people know.
Let the people know. It's called Lovesick Blues, and it's by Hank Williams.
Yeah.
The version that I fell in love with, and then heard the OG version was Leanne Rimes' version.
Yeah.
So the original Lovesick Blues came out in 52. So it's old.
I don't think I realized that because I think I was listening to the Leanne Rimes version.
Yeah. Well, hers was bomb.
Yeah.
But
girl can yodel.
She was always such a powerhouse, and she was like, what, 16?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I loved too when I went to see her when I was younger. I was so inspired because I was always told by like managers and stuff that I had to wear heels on stage. And I was like, I'm not wearing heels for 3 straight hours. I would like to take my shoes off and dance around with no shoes on. And they were like, no one's going to want to see that. And then I went to this huge concert and Leanne Rimes runs out on the stage with no bra and no shoes. And I was like, yes, see, I told you. And I got so heated about it. And from then on, I was like, I'm doing what I want.
It was also probably the 90s.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, she was awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
So Lovesick Blues is like a classic. Like when I first started getting into music, my mom was pretty heavy into helping facilitate everything and like, you know, kind of like help me practice and be like a total, you know, she's definitely like a momager.
Yeah.
But because of her background and everything readily available in Arkansas, like where I would play every Saturday was called the Little O Opry.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was this little, small, tiny theater in West Fork, Arkansas, like 30 minutes away from home. They had an in-house band. It was like the same 3 people every Saturday, and like the same 20 older folks would show there, and we would have buttermilk pie. And
what is that?
Buttermilk pie?
Yeah.
Or like a custard pie, kind of.
Okay,
like,
all right.
It's just, classic Southern pie.
Love that.
Go there, and then I would just sing like once a month or so. and Lovesick Blues was one of those because looking back, they played like the same like 10 songs, but it was that one, a lot of Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, like all that stuff.
All that heart wrenching stuff.
Lovesick Blues is just one of those classic songs it was a classic, but also super. What's the word? I guess it was very impressive if you could do it well.
Yeah.
Because of the glottal stop situation going on in it. And it's like, not many people can do that and do it well and make it still sound like not awful.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting good at that song and then just started doing that in all my competitions. So then that was my competition
So it was like
song.
your thing. You were like, I'm very confident about this.
Yeah, like that one and You Ain't Woman Enough for like my go-tos.
Totally.
You know that one? You ain't enough. So good. Sass.
Yes.
Yeah, so those were my go-to ones.
Okay, so I'm like sing. I need to hear it.
Lovesick Blues by Hank Williams.
Go off, girl.
I've got a feeling called the blues, oh Lord, since my baby said goodbye.
I love it.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. All I do is sit inside, oh Lord.
Oh my God.
Last long day he said goodbye. Oh Lord, I thought that I would cry. He'll do you. He's got that kind of loving. And Lord, I love to hear him when he calls me sweet baby. He's such a beautiful dream.
Girl,
I have man voice right now because my allergies.
I love this so much because you know why? Because I don't get to hear you sing that kind of country very much anymore. It's so interesting that you like made that turn back into like more of a pop country though. Mm-hmm. Did you ever think you were going back into country?
No, probably. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know because I think I was open to anything. I was pretty hell-bent against country music for a while.
Same. I had like a
simply because
full-blown absolute
the whole
no.
Conversation at the beginning is I didn't like when people told me like what I needed to be, what I needed to do and all that stuff. Like I don't like being put in a box. I like finding out who I am on my own terms and on my own timeline. So when I did the metal band, it was like a weird way of me being like, you know.
Yeah.
You know, middle finger, I'm going to find who I am on my own way, you know? And I'm glad I did that. And I got that out of my system. I got, found my style. And then I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. You know, like, then I went back to my roots, like the stuff that I had good memories with, the stuff that did make me who I was. And I was doing it when and how. Yeah. So, yes, for a while there, I did not think I would ever go back. But I'm glad that I'm embracing it now because I think the whole point was that I just had gotten to a point where I was confident enough in who I was and who I am now. Yeah. To embrace the good, the bad, and the ugly, the evolving, the growing, the times that I didn't know, and then the stuff. That's what awesome. I am now, I guess,
Okay, so that's like a perfect segue for me then. So I'm gonna ask you my last 3 questions. Okay. The first one being, when do you feel you're most authentic?
It depends who I'm with.
Okay. But if you're just by yourself?
When I'm just by myself?
Yeah. What does that look like? Where is it? How does it feel?
Probably this is going to sound like such a cop-out, but in my own home. Just simply because I am a homebody and it's not I guess it's a comfort thing, but also my home is the only place I can bring my antiques to and my style, and literally everything that I surround myself with in my home is I want it to scream me. And I don't care if it's obnoxious. I don't care if people are like, oh my God, this is really gothic. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. You're an old lady. You really like old stuff. And I'm like, nah, yeah, well, that's who I am. Yeah. So my favorite thing to do and when I feel most authentic is when I invite people over and I'm in my home.
I love that.
And they truly get to see who I am simply because, and I guess it's a control factor. I'm able to control my environment there. So even more so they're able to see who Amanda is without me even saying anything.
Right.
They're able to look around and be like, oh,
It's
this
kind of like a
is-
window into something that you would never say, I think.
Yeah, and like, to be honest, it's just hard. It's hard to be your authentic self in today's world, and there's just so much noise going on. There's so many distractions. We have the attention span of children anymore. So I've just gotten to a point in life where I've chosen, and it's actually a choice now. I'm confident in that I choose when and how I'm going to be my authentic self, because I am pretty protective of my energy now. And I choose to do that in the comfort of my own home and in the controlled environment, because now I'm at a stage and I'm able to say this where it's an honor for you to see my authentic self. So like, if you're in my circle, or I want you to be in my circle, if I invite you to my house.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because like, I do believe in always being your authentic self and showing that publicly, but you have to be protective. And
it's a hard lesson to learn too. Yeah.
But I've gotten to a point now, and I think this is like the queen thing I'm trying to embody, is like, you have your public side, which needs to be authentic and needs to be genuine. I do believe in that, but I think there is a value to having a little bit of mystery and this other side that only certain people get to see, and that's in that controlled environment. So yeah, I think that's my answer. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Because you always want to be that.
Right. Yeah. It's just not always 100% possible.
Well, I think you can be always authentic, but I think it is possible to be authentic but uncomfortable.
Yeah,
sometimes.
absolutely.
So like, I think maybe I was answering that question is I was authentic and comfortable and completely vulnerable.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes, that's perfect.
Because you see people out, and they obviously look authentic. They look truly like they're being themselves, but they're not necessarily giving 100% of themselves.
That's true. And that's okay. Like, that's probably
I think that's
the better way to
route.
go. Yeah. Can't be giving everybody everything. Learn that the hard way.
Right.
Yeah. People pleaser energy. No, because we took, like, we just recently did like a whole, like, would you call it a class or like
the life coaching thing?
Yeah, we did like a whole life coaching thing, and that was like a
program.
Huge, and it had like this huge like part of it that was just about getting out of people pleaser mode and just becoming a better version of your most authentic self. And that actually was pretty awesome to experience, especially with you, because like I feel like we both feel a lot of the same things. So like when you say like, okay, I'm going to be in my own space and invite those people in with like boundaries up, I think that's really important.
Well, the other thing too, I was thinking of just when you're saying that, is I think the other reason why I say my home is too because I've witnessed so many people saying what they are and not necessarily embodying it or showing it. And so my way, or like the most authentic way I know to do, is to show it, which is in the home, because I can't really show you that. And like, I can say I like antiques, and I can say I'm into history, I can say I'm into spiritual stuff, I can say, you know, whatever my style is, but it's another thing to see it and know I'm living it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's also easy to put on a dope leather jacket and be like, I'm a rock star. But like, you go to their home and it's like a pigsty, you know, like that's different.
Yeah.
But I have, like, every time I've invited somebody over for the first time and they've known me for a little bit of time, gotten to know my style, and they're like, all right, this is what she says. And then they say it, it's unanimously always the same reaction of like, oh, like, oh, this makes sense. And I'm like, yeah, I've been telling you, but like, you just need to see it, I guess.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So question number 2.
Yeah.
What is a song that you think is extremely underrated that should be heard by more people?
Underrated, heard by more people. That's a tough one.
I know.
I'm just going to go with my gut reaction.
Absolutely. That's what we want.
This is so random, but this is the first thing that came to my head when you said that. Have you ever heard of Luke Howard?
No.
Luke Howard is, how would you describe him? I guess he's like a contemporary composer.
Okay.
So he writes stuff like Hans Zimmer stuff. Like beautiful piano driven. I guess you would call him a composer because he's composing the piano music. The most beautiful piano music ever. It's stunning. When I say like I don't react that often,
yeah,
I don't to normal music. Like I would say like top 40 like commercial music. This music I'll listen to and I will cry every time.
Tears.
Or I'll want to. He has this song that came up randomly on Spotify years ago, and it was called Portrait Gallery, and it's a really good one. Went to the whole album, and the whole album is just stunning. Like there's no words, no vocals or anything. It's just a violin or cello, some background. I can't name every instrument, but it's very stripped, very beautiful, like classical type of stuff, but modern classical. And the whole album is stunning.
I cannot wait to go listen to this. Like, I feel like on this podcast, I'm just constantly going to be like, okay, I have to go listen now.
It's like having like a trip just from music. Like when you listen to it,
it's just like full of emotion.
It's crazy because you can get a whole story you can just get a whole story and it's just their instruments. And I like that. Like it was that well written.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suggest everyone listen to Luke Howard. Start with Portrait Gallery. That's the most common one, but that entire album with Portrait Gallery is absolutely beautiful.
Okay.
And it will move you. It will absolutely move you. But you do have to be in a good space. Like it can get kind of like moody.
Okay.
Sure. Like you have to be in a good space. But if you feel like crying, absolutely go for it. Like grab a glass of wine and listen to it, and you'll be like, all right, I had my therapy session, like I'm good.
We're ready to do it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, last
I don't know
question.
why that was the first thing that came to my mind. But
That's honestly, those are the answers that I want to hear, though. The ones that just like kind of pop into your head that you sometimes even didn't expect. Like,
listen to Bruno Mars.
Yeah. No. I mean, Bruno's he's great. Okay, like, just lay off Bruno. Okay, we don't talk about Bruno. Oh my God, I've been hanging out with the littles too much. Oh my goodness. Okay, so my last question for you is, what are you up to now? What's next in the future for Amanda Jo Cramer, and where can we find it?
What's next, or at least in the goal? The goal is
in the queue.
In the goals is an EP.
Okay, I'm excited for that.
Yes. I am in the works of like scheduling the recordings. Like I have a few of the songs I know I want to do, but it's picking the rest, and like you know how it is. It's a creative process. I might get into the project, do the first song, and then write one that I decide I want to be on it. But that's the goal, and I would like that to be this year. If it's not this year, at least by next spring. Just because I want to do it right. Yeah, and I do want videos for all of them.
I was gonna say, do you want? Are you gonna are your 2 singles that you released going to be a part of your EP, or are you gonna do all new tracks?
I think I'll put Ask Me. Okay. Location was a one-off.
Yeah, that was a fun one, though.
Location was a one-off, fun summer song, and I just needed to put that out for me.
Yeah. Ask Me is a staple, though.
Yeah, Ask Me truly, like, I just really stand by the lyrics that I wrote in that song, because everything about it really embodies, like, what my morals and what I want to push to the world. Yeah. Which is going back to the old ways.
You have a lyric. It's like one of my favorites ever. you say, think we need a little less screen, a little more screen and porch. Is it screen and porch?
Yeah.
Yeah. It literally, when you first played that song for me, I was like, oh God.
Isn't that
It's
so true?
true. And in like the way it was phrased though, like I bop that song in my car like all the time. And it comes on and I'm just like, it's just like a part of like my playlists now. So I'm just like listening, like it's like top 40. Like I'm just like, let's go.
Well, the biggest feedback I've gotten from Ask Me, and it's been from people of all age ranges and locations and
Location.
all different experiences. And they've all have said the same thing, and that like I really love your lyrics and I just really relate to it, and I just think it's a really good message. And that's what I think music should be more about. I mean, I do think it's fine to put out stuff that's just a bop. Obviously, we write stuff.
We
we
need that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like nice to have like lighthearted stuff. But the thing that I wanted to be the first thing to break my silence of so long, I really truly just wanted to be like, hey, I've grown a little bit. This is what I think.
Yeah.
You know? And the EP, I think I want to focus more on sound and really dial in like who Amanda is and the direction I might want to go to, but also like just have fun with it. Like I won't put too much pressure on that, but outside of obvious recording, which is always in the books for every artist, I just want to get better at my content and be more confident in it. I'm around it every day, and it's crazy to me that I can't get the willpower to do it every day, but it's just hard just because I'm naturally not like one of those people that wants to push my face into people's other faces. But I think maybe finding a way to do that but still be authentically myself and what I'm comfortable with, I'm still trying to figure out, but I think I just need to like go for it. So I think that's my goal. My goal is to, because I would need to stay relative. And people need to know that I'm still creating and caring about music. So I want to combine a little bit of both worlds, like still sticking true to my traditional ways, but and be Amanda, but also stay relevant and like be like, hey, by the way, you know, like
I'm still doing this. Hey,
I can still do stuff, which is a hard balance. I mean, you and I have met some of the most talented people in the world here, but a lot of people aren't going to see them because it's hard for them to get out of their comfort zone and push themselves. You know, it does feel weird. You feel a little bit like a narcissist, you know? Like,
absolutely. And like, it does take a lot of time being by yourself, working through your own issues and your own like demons and your own things that are holding you back. And that does take a lot of time, a lot of self-time and to hit those goals. And that sometimes can feel like that.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not even a confidence thing. Sometimes it's just like simply know-how. And like time. Like for me, when I get home, I'm exhausted. The last thing I want to do is film a song idea, which is a bajillion things we have in a day.
Right.
And in my tiny studio apartment, waking up my neighbors.
Yeah.
And singing at the top of my lungs. And then recording it for an hour because I'm a perfectionist and want it to sound perfect. So then it's like, then I get like exhausted. Even after that. And
I know.
It just, like, turns into
and then
cycle.
I'm like, it's not good anyways.
Yeah. So then like, so I guess a big part of that is, and what I need to work on and what will help with that goal is to just like not overthink it. So like, I think a good goal of mine when creating content would be like, all right, I need to come up with 5 videos to show people this week, and I can only record it 2 times and post it.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. I think
it's
so
a
too.
Challenge.
Yeah, and I mean,
for sure.
I girl, you're preaching to the choir over here because I literally am like sitting, like he's over there in the corner. I can already tell. He's like, yeah, you do need to put out more content, and like
I was like trying to do the intro, you know, like 10 different times, just because like that's just part of it.
Yeah,
you know?
it's because like you know we're like perfectionists, but also creatives, so like we want it to come across like. as the best it can be, but also like sometimes like
It's a double-edged sword.
yeah, sometimes it's just like there are too many tries. So.
Yeah, and then you get exhausted and you're like, my voice is gone now. What am I gonna do now?
You're tired. You're like, okay, I'm not even inspired anymore.
I don't even like this song.
Yeah, I don't even like myself anymore. No. Who am I? Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've really loved having you on the show so much. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah.
And
hopefully we have another update.
oh yeah, and then I will hope to have you back at some point down the road because I love to hear what you have going on, and we gotta let the people know.
Let the people know.
Yeah. Is there anything else you feel like you want to say before we hit the road here?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, we
said a
covered so
lot.
many good things.
Yeah, no, I like the rabbit holes we went down.
Yeah, it's my favorite part of this, and like this is like the first like official one, but it's so much fun just chatting with you in general. So I'm glad that we're just kind of letting people into the room with us.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you guys for tuning in to In Tune. See you next time.
I am